Smoke has existed for a very long before empires and kingdoms were built. It followed people almost everywhere they went. When the sun went down, a fire brought warmth to the camp. Fresh meat cooked over glowing embers instead of being eaten raw. Dry branches crackled through the night while families gathered around the flames. Where there was fire, there was always smoke. It just drifted wherever the wind decided. Sometimes it curled harmlessly into the sky. Other times it rolled straight through the middle of the camp. People covered their faces. They turned away. They waited for the wind to change before moving back. That reaction probably hasn't changed very much. Take today as an example. Sit beside a campfire long enough, and eventually the smoke finds you. Most people don't lean into it unless they are crazy. They lean away immediately. That's what makes smoking so unusual. For hundreds, thousands of years, humans treated smoke as something to live with. Smoke was something that warmed them. It protected them in ways they probably didn't even realize. The smell lingered on clothes, hides, and hair. Insects avoided it. Some dangerous animals were less willing to approach a bright fire surrounded by people. Smoke became part of ordinary life. Rather than something special, it was simply another part of living beside a fire. So when did people stop treating smoke as an unavoidable part of the campfire and begin creating it for an entirely different reason? The answer didn't begin with tobacco only. It began with natural curiosity. For most of human history, smoke was just something that came from fire. But humans have always experimented with the natural world around them. A strange-looking plant, a bitter leaf, or a powerful smell could lead to a simple question: what happens if we try it? Humans were already discovering that certain plants could affect the body and mind. Some plants helped with pain. Others changed how people felt, thought, or experienced the world. To ancient humans, these effects were never understood through chemistry. They were often seen as something mysterious, even spiritual. A person who experienced unusual visions or feelings after using a plant might have been believed to have contacted another world. This curiosity eventually led humans to experiment with burning plants and breathing in the smoke. Smoke had one major advantage: it worked quickly. Instead of waiting for the body to digest a plant, inhaling smoke could deliver its effects within moments. The idea of using smoke to change the mind was born from the same curiosity that led humans to discover medicine, cooking, and countless other tools. One of the earliest examples comes from the Americas, where ancient communities experimented with plants like tobacco. Archaeologists have found evidence of ancient tobacco use thousands of years ago, showing that humans were already exploring its effects long before modern cigarettes existed. At this point, smoking was something rare, something connected to discovery, tradition, and ritual. But humans had only found the first step. They had discovered that smoke could carry something powerful into the body. The next question was how that discovery would become part of human culture. Once humans discovered that smoke could change the way they felt, it slowly became connected to something much bigger than curiosity. It became part of human traditions. For many ancient societies, certain plants were reserved for important moments, especially ceremonies and spiritual practices. Smoke had a unique quality that made it feel special. Unlike food or drinks, smoke disappeared into the air almost immediately. People could watch it rise toward the sky, almost as if it was carrying something away. That made smoke a powerful symbol. Many cultures believed smoke could connect humans with the spiritual world, carry prayers to the gods, or help people enter a different state of mind. In the Americas, tobacco became one of the most important ritual plants. Indigenous groups used tobacco in ceremonies, diplomacy, healing practices, and communication with the spiritual world. It was often treated as a valuable substance, not something people casually used throughout the day. Some communities even had specific people responsible for using tobacco during rituals, because they believed these individuals could communicate with spirits or receive special knowledge. The important thing is that early smoking was very different from the modern image of someone casually lighting a cigarette. It was usually controlled, meaningful, and connected to a specific purpose. Archaeologists have found ancient smoking pipes across North and South America, showing that these practices existed thousands of years before Europeans arrived. Some pipes were simple, made from materials like clay or stone. Others were carefully decorated, suggesting they had cultural or ceremonial importance. Smoking had become more than a way to consume a plant. It had become a human tradition. And once something becomes a tradition, it can spread. Over time, different societies began finding their own ways to use smoke. Some used pipes, some burned plants in ceremonies, and others created mixtures of different herbs. The relationship between humans and smoke was changing. It was no longer just about the fire outside the body. Humans had found a way to bring smoke inside themselves, and that discovery was about to leave its original home and travel across the world. When Europeans arrived in the Americas during the late 15th century, they encountered indigenous peoples using tobacco. Explorers quickly became fascinated by this unfamiliar plant and the way people used it. At first, tobacco was treated as a strange curiosity. Sailors brought it back to Europe, and before long, people began experimenting with it themselves. Tobacco slowly moved away from its original cultural role and entered a completely different world. Instead of being limited to rituals, it became something people could use whenever they wanted. By the 1600s, tobacco smoking had spread across parts of Europe, Asia, and Africa through trade networks. Different societies adapted it in their own ways. Some people smoked tobacco in pipes. Others used water pipes, such as the hookah, which became popular in parts of the Middle East and South Asia. In Japan, smoking pipes called kiseru became part of social life during the Edo period. The way people smoked changed depending on the culture, but the basic idea remained the same. A plant that once had a special meaning became an everyday object. This shift also changed how people thought about smoking. And once smoking became easier to access, more people started doing it regularly. The invention of new technology pushed this even further. Hand-rolled cigarettes already existed, but machines developed in the late 1800s allowed cigarettes to be produced much faster and cheaper. Suddenly, tobacco was no longer something only a small group of people used. It could be sold to millions. By the 20th century, smoking had become one of the most common habits on Earth. The same plant that ancient humans once used in ceremonies had transformed into a global industry. A discovery made thousands of years ago around a small fire had become something that shaped the entire modern world. For ancient communities, smoke was often connected to ceremony and meaning. For modern societies, it became a product. Factories could now produce cigarettes by the millions, making tobacco cheaper and easier to buy than ever before. Companies also discovered something important. A cigarette was not just a way to consume tobacco. It could be sold as an image. Advertisements connected smoking with confidence, adventure, independence, and even success. Movies and celebrities helped make smoking look normal and fashionable. A person holding a cigarette became a familiar symbol of modern life. But behind this popularity was something humans from thousands of years ago never understood. Nicotine was highly addictive. The same chemical that created a calming or stimulating feeling could also make people want to use tobacco again and again. By the middle of the 20th century, scientists began discovering the serious health effects linked to smoking. Research showed strong connections between smoking and diseases like lung cancer and heart problems. Public attitudes slowly began to change. Warnings appeared on cigarette packages. Governments introduced restrictions on advertising and smoking in public places. The world started seeing tobacco differently. A plant that had traveled from ancient rituals to global popularity was now recognized as a major health problem. But even with these changes, smoking did not disappear. Today, billions of people around the world still use tobacco products. The story of smoking is unusual because it follows a pattern that appears throughout human history. Humans find something in nature. They experiment with it. They give it meaning. And eventually, it can become something much bigger than anyone expected. A simple plant once used by ancient communities became one of the most influential habits in human history, And it all started with a few curious humans wondering what would happen if they breathed in smoke. If you want to see my stories like this, consider giving us a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button.